a while. You know, it's starting to come back in China a little bit now, so we can't be too anxious.
Well, the good news is that the challenge was successful. And what I don't want to happen is, you know, we're in April and May for everyone to just drop off on polio. There's no way I'm going to get away from having to jump out of an airplane. And so we're trying to figure out when that'll occur now.
Yeah.
We may not.
Yeah. Well, it's not the jumping out of the airplane, it's the dinner that's going to be the problem.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly.
I don't think anybody's going to get closer to you than 6 feet when you come out of that plane. So,
well, that's going to be a problem because I'm supposed to be strapped to someone. So maybe the dinner will be, maybe the dinner could be a memorial service, John.
So you're not free falling.
Well, I mean, we are free falling, but I don't want to do that by myself. I want someone who's done it before strapped to me that has done it before.
Oh, gosh.
Anyway.
Where is Garden?
Oh, no, it's just west of Poughkeepsie.
Oh, that's close to us. That's only 40 minutes from where we are.
Yeah, we'll go over there and
come
watch.
see you.
Yeah, you're not the only one that wants to watch that. I'll tell you, we offered up, we offered up to people if they wanted to jump on the same day as us. They can't jump out of the same plane, there isn't room. But if they wanted to jump the same day, they could do that for $500. It costs $250 to jump, and then the other $250 would go to Polio Plus. People were signing up for that. It just goes to show you that I'm not the dumbest Rotarian in the world. There are others, but there was great interest. The dinner had great interest. The district was planning a great celebration. It's all going to happen, but it's just probably not going to happen on May 9th.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to wait just one more minute and then we'll get started. Good morning, everybody. It's so nice to see we have like 62 people online already. So we're 1 minute away from 9 and then we'll get started to be mindful of everybody's time.
John, are you back in Tennessee?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're doing okay down there?
Yeah, we're doing fine. We could just get rid of this virus, we'd be all right.
Boy, I'll tell you.
You know, we talked about polio with 1,000 cases a day in 1959, thereabouts, 85. You know, there's about 40,000 cases of this COVID now.
Hi, Haresh. Hi, Jennifer.
Morning, everyone.
Hi, John. John.
Haresh, how are you? What am I?
I'm very well.
There.
Cheers.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Good morning, John.
Good
All right,
morning.
So we're going to go ahead and get started, but we do want to remind everyone, if you're not speaking, just mute in between. We welcome comments, and there'll be times during the meeting that we will ask for comments and interaction. But if you're not speaking, just mute so it doesn't feed back. So here's Mr. Goldson.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Goldson, and good morning, everybody from around the world that we have joining us this morning on our Passport Club meeting. We are thrilled to have a special guest with us and some other special Rotarians that have logged on to join us as well. I want to just give you a brief description of what our Passport Club is and what we're trying to accomplish. For those of you who are not aware, the Passport Club model is a hybrid between a traditional Rotary Club and an e-club, in that we meet online. We have our meetings online to meet the needs of Rotarians who don't have regular schedules, who perhaps are snowbirds, who travel for their jobs and can't make the demands of a regular traditional weekly club meeting, yet still have a connection to wherever home may be. And we encourage them to work with local Rotary clubs after this global pandemic on their service projects and fundraisers, wherever they may be, and there's a Rotary club nearby, so that they have that sense of fellowship and friendship and working together for their community, but they can still catch up on the meeting component of it online. So that's a brief description of what a Passport Club is. I'm not going to go around the room with 81 participants and acknowledge all of our special guests other than to say thank you. Thank you for carving out time on, I think for just about everybody, a Saturday morning. We may have a few international folks for whom this is a little later in the day. Sometimes we have folks from Sweden and even Australia that come online to join us. So thank you for that. I'm going to first throw it out to our current Rotary International Director for Zones 24, soon to be 28 and 32, Jeffrey Cataray. If you'd like to say a few words to welcome everybody, we'd appreciate that, Jeffrey.
Hi, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Jennifer just messaged me and asked how many of these I do, or how many of these have I been involved in, and it's probably 4 to 5 a day. I just dropped in. I just want to listen in on your meeting, but I want to thank you. If there is a silver lining in this pandemic for us, it is that we are coming up to speed and embracing technology like you already have with your Passport Club. The rest of us have lagged behind, but boy, are we getting connected. President Mark's theme of Rotary Connects the World is no more true than today. We had a call a couple days ago with Mark Maloney on it. We had 450 participants from around the world on that call. And so clubs and districts are using this platform and others to stay connected, because we can't allow Rotary to go dark. We can't let clubs just go dark at this time. We have to stay connected, engaged with our communities, with our members. So thank you for what you're doing. Know that it's appreciated. You have always led the way on this, and we're all trying to play catch up with you. Just know that your efforts are appreciated. We have a challenge for the next 3 months. And then we have another challenge as we begin the next Rotary year, because once the pandemic wanes, then we're dealing with the economic impact of all of this. But what I know is that together we will get through this. And together with your leadership, each of you, all of us, will get through this. So I'm just here to observe today. Thank you for letting me be a part of your meeting.
Jeffrey, thank you for everything that you and the Rotary International leadership is doing in keeping us all connected.
Right now, we want to throw it to our one of our club members in the Passport Club. As we, by the way, I should note, we are not officially chartered by Rotary International yet. We are working our way towards charter, and we are hoping that our increased attendance during this tough time will help us build membership and get us to the critical mass that we need. And I would point out to everybody that our website has a very, very brief sign-up form, just basically to get contact information so we can keep you in the loop via email. And the address is 6400passport.org, 6400passport.org. And I'll post that in the chat window in a moment, so you have it. You can also just join our Facebook group. That's District 6400 Passport Club. I know some of you have already done that, and we appreciate it. So Jeannie Knopp-DeRoche is one of the prospective members, or the, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, prospective charter members of our Passport Club, and Jeannie is going to lead us in an invocation this morning. Jeannie?
Thank you, Bruce. I thought I would start our invocation with a thought on perspective in the form of this short poem. It goes like this. Yesterday is history. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. But today is a gift, which is why we call it the present. Amen.
Thank you very much, Jeannie. That was perfect. I also want to acknowledge a couple of District 6400 Rotarians, our leadership that are with us this morning, District Governor John Chambers and District Governor-elect Noel Jackson, and also past Rotary International Vice President and current Foundation Trustee Jennifer Jones, I believe, is on as well. Past District Governor Paul Sincock, and I think there's a few others that I'll scroll through when we have an opportunity to do that. But right now, I'm going to turn it over to Sue.
So I know in this time that there have been people who are trying to still keep connected with each other, and also are doing some projects and things at home. And trying to help perhaps healthcare workers or neighbors or seniors who could use a little bit of a helping hand. And I thought maybe we would take 2 or 3, if you just want to unmute yourself, and maybe tell us a little bit about what you're doing in your community to help others through this pandemic.
This is Debbie. Hi, I'm down at 5930 and served with John Germ, my all-star president. So happy to be here today, and currently serving as Rotary coordinator for zones 25B and 29. And one of the things I've noticed some of the clubs are doing is some of the hospitals have reached out for masks and things. So they've gotten the pattern from the CDC and are starting some at-home sewing projects. You know, so they are doing service projects, but independently with the safe distance. So that's been fun to see how that has snowballed into a project where people pulled out their sewing machines, ordered materials offline, and been able to serve a need that the community has reached out for.
That's awesome, Deb. And I know here in our district, and I've seen other districts are doing the same, the face mask thing it's huge when supplies are so low. Sam, did you have something you wanted to share?
Yes, Sam Listurgeon with Indianapolis Downtown Rotary, and it's small, but we're sequestered, so our efforts are limited. But I've been calling a person that I haven't talked to in quite a while each day, so a different person. I try to call at least one. And so I started Sunday with 90-year-old friend and his wife, and he put me on speaker and we chatted for 20 minutes and had just a delightful conversation. And then other friends, and Thursday I went on a bike ride and ended up sitting outside with an 80-year-old friend, you know, 10 feet apart. We chatted for a half hour, but just call somebody that you, a friend who lost his wife recently. You know, there's people out there that would appreciate a phone call.
Okay, anybody else?
Sue, Sue, could I make a comment?
Sure, please do.
No. I saw a news item in New York where there was immigrant caterers and chefs put together I'll just say like a cafeteria or commissary outside of the hospital, so that when the hospital workers had a chance to take some relief, they would be able to go through this commissary that was set up, large tents and so forth. I just thought, you know, what an idea. We've got this potential for Rotary Foundation money to work on projects for COVID. What if we had in front of some hospitals some large tents with big Rotary signs on them, and we coordinated having restaurants or caterers being able to set up, and of course this would have to be done in a, you know, I guess the word would be social distancing way, you know, with proper protective equipment and so forth. But what a great service that would be for the hospital workers to be able to get out of their environment and be able to have some people serve them.
That's a great idea. Haresh, did you have something that you wanted to add in?
Yes, I did. Thank you so much. So we're a shortage of ventilators here in Jamaica, and the Ministry of Health has procured some, but it's not going to be anywhere near enough. So we've been shopping around trying to get ventilators, and we have a Rotarian from our area that has an office in Hong Kong that supplies merchandise. So we reached out to him, and we reached out to the ministry first, and they said, look, we have specifications that we would traditionally want to use for ventilators, but at this point in time, we are willing to take any ventilators because we're going to have a shortage. So he has sourced some in China, and in the last 2 days, we raised from among our group in the Montego Bay area $14,000, which is going to be able to purchase 5 ventilators over there. And he has a container that is leaving in 2 days. He's going to throw it in there, and we're hoping to get it here in another week or so. So that way, when we're expecting community transmission as we speak, by the way, Jamaica is on complete lockdown. We have 31 cases, but we're expecting mushroom from community transmission. And so we're just trying to prep so that in another 2 weeks when the surge takes place, we will be ready. So we were thinking about initially using the new grant that was available, but because it's happening so fast, in the moment, we just raised whatever we could, and we're just gonna try and get it done. And then we would probably take advantage of the grant that's available for maybe some other items that are needed afterwards. But that's what we're doing, like in the moment happening in the last 2 days.
Thanks so much, Rash. There's so many incredible stories. So it's with incredible joy and so proud to know this man as well as I do. I had the great fortune in 2016-17 to be a district governor, and I served with some awesome people like my good friend Deb High, who was my president's aide when I went to be a rep in her district. And she's like a sister to me now, and love her to pieces. And John and his beautiful wife, Judy, became very near and dear to Bruce and I during our journey to become governor. And afterwards, we've kept in contact, which is awesome. John hails from Chattanooga, Tennessee, if you didn't know that from his southern drawl that he has. And he served as Rotary International President 2016-17. John has done so many incredible things in Rotary. He currently serves as a trustee, and he's been very, very active in the area of polio eradication. So it is with great pride and just an honor to have him with us today. Please welcome past Rotary International President, John Germ.
Thank you very much, Sue. It's a pleasure to be here. And, Jeffrey made a few comments a few minutes ago, and I think that we can see from the other comments that are going on that, Rotary is in uncharted waters right now. The whole world is uncharted waters. And we look at that background behind you, Sue, and we see the nice, but we don't see the ripples in it that you could relate to that we have in our world today. And you were talking about some of these projects, and we had a company here that makes mattresses, and we've set up in a parking lot at some of our hospitals tents so that we can have screening there. The company donated, one of them donated 40 mattresses. Well, that kept the COVID patients out of the main hospital, so they're somewhat isolated there. We have a college and a high school kids that do 3D printing, and they are actually making the shields that printing those out. They're getting about 70 a day there. We have two teachers at Baylor School, it's a high school here, that are in fact doing testing now, and they've got approval to do testing, and they're being able to do 70 tests a day. So I think you're seeing that while there's ripples in the water, that there's a calming effect for people uniting around this one common element called COVID-19. Harash mentioned the fact that the trustees, the new grant, the trustees just, executive committee on behalf of the board of trustees voted to move $1 million out of the global grant funds over to disaster grants so that districts can apply for grants out of those funds in order to help their communities. So there's a lot of things like that that's going on. The grants that you still have in place that the districts around the world are sponsoring still have to be completed. Scholars still have to finish their education. So Rotary is still involved quite extensively all around the world. And I think that if anything, this shows that we can unite and we can do functions, whether we're together as individuals in the same place. And by the way, you guys are not separated 6 feet, so be careful there that what happens to you. There you go. I like to vote in the background. That's why I was doing that. So, but it is a pleasure to be with you today. And really, as you know, I like to take questions and answers and try to respond to what the people want to hear. But let me cover a few things that I think is important. Number one, let's talk about the giving to the Rotary Foundation. And right now, the Rotary Foundation is in pretty good shape as far as what the giving is concerned. I got a report yesterday, and we're up about 5.8% on the annual fund. We're up on the endowment. Polio Plus, I'll get into that a little bit later. So the giving is there, but as Jeffrey also said, I think that not only are we not being able to meet in person and share the fun and the fellowship that we had and Rotary clubs normally have, but there's a huge economic impact to this. And if you look at some of the companies that we've always gone to for sponsorships for some of our club projects and stuff, most of those are small businesses. A lot of those small businesses are closed right now. So some of our projects, I think, are going to run short this year because of some of the economic impact. I heard a comment the other day that, you know, Rotary clubs have depended on small businesses to help support them through the years. Now it's time for the Rotarians to support the small businesses. So I think we need to take that into fact that there is going to be a huge economic impact on this. As we all know, that just passed a $2.3 trillion stimulus package. Somewhere that's got to be paid back. So there is going to be some economic spin-offs from this that's going to be years for people in all these countries. Look at what's happening in Italy right now. Italy has been a strong Rotary country, and right now they're in very bad shape. So, and I think that's true all over the world. So we've got to continue to give to the Rotary Foundation at the level that we can afford to do. I think all of us can scrape up a little bit more money sometimes to help these projects and to know that we still need funding for our grants, we still need funding for scholarships, and we certainly need funding for polio. Jeffrey made a comment a few minutes ago about polio, and I'm kind of wandering all over the place here, but I hope y'all don't mind. But let me read you something that came out of the Polio Oversight Board just recently. It said critical functions related to polio, acute flaccid paralysis, and environmental surveillance should remain a priority, and government should do all they can to ensure they continue to closely monitor the circulation of wild and vaccine-derived polio virus. As much as possible, these surveillance activities should be paired with COVID-19 surveillance. So Rotary is using some of its resources in order to help with the COVID-19. Part of that has to do with the fact, if you'll recall, Ebola, and what happened with Ebola, Dr. Tedros, the head of WHO, said that if it hadn't been for Rotary and what we had developed over the years with our surveillance, with the workers, and with the laboratories, it would have been much harder to get rid of the Ebola. So Rotary is playing a role with COVID-19, but we can't forget that polio is our #1 program. Right now on polio eradication, as far as fundraising is concerned, you know, we have a goal of $50 million. We've got actually $20.3 million of that in cash already through February 28th. We do have $4.1 million in DDF, so we still got a lot of ways to go there. We got World Fund of $4.2 million, so we got 28.6. So we're up a little bit over last year, but again, we think that the economic conditions is really going to play an impact. So what we're trying to do, and had a meeting yesterday with all the team leaders for our End Polio Now coordinators, and said, you know, our big thing now is go after DDF. We still have $52 million of unallocated DDF sitting in a bank. We have one district, one zone rather, that has, no, it's a district, that has $900 and something thousand in unspent DDF. And unfortunately, it's in Japan. And Japan has said, some of their goals over there is that the district governor must leave more into the DDF than they took out. So they're growing. This money is continually growing, and we think that is crazy. I just saw a thing that says, what is DDF? Well, DDF is district designated funds. And so that any dollar, if you give $100, $50 of that comes back as district designated funds 3 years from the time you give it. So that money is up to the district to decide how to spend. If they don't spend it, it still stays into their account, and the foundation has no way at the present time in order to move that money over to use it for other things such as peace scholars or polio or anything like that. The other 50 cents goes into the World Fund, and then that's used for grants. And every district decides how they want to administer their own district designated funds. So I think that what we have to understand is that we do have continuing projects out there. We do have things that are going on right now, like Jeffrey going to jump out of the airplane. We've got a man in Zurich office, the head of the Zurich office there is, he and Per Hoden, who's a trustee, are growing beards, and then they're going to see who raises the most money, and whoever raises the most money from their length of their beard, their hair, we can't get to a barbershop anyway, so they're going to shave the other person's hair. Their goal is to raise $35,000. We had an Interact conference in District 6780 where Fred Heitman, who's the son-in-law of Bill Sargent, who's been involved with Rotary for a long time in polio program, let kids come up and they painted his hair different colors, and then they paid to cut it off. So, I mean, there's crazy things going on that can make Rotary fun, which it should be, but at the same time, it's fulfilling our promise to the children of the world. The districts are still doing a lot of work. There's a lot of things out there. There's a lot of innovative things that are happening that districts are working on together. So let me tell you a couple of stories, though. I think that really, fortunate to be president of Rotary, you get the opportunity to travel a lot. And I never will forget in Nigeria, when I went over there to Nigeria, we were there for a polio mission. And so we had these tables lined up in front of us that like a regular table, 3 foot wide, 6 foot long, little tables that you have at a dining hall, restaurant type. And this lady was there, and she had a little baby in her arms. And she kind of pushed that baby out in front, and I was putting polio drops in the child's mouth. And I didn't speak her language, she didn't speak mine, but when we got through, she just looked up and smiled. And it's a feeling like that you know that Rotary's out there with just 2 drops, you can save a child's life. Then in Texas, I had the opportunity, this lady said, would you mind going with me to visit a Rotarian that can't come to meetings? I said, no, I'll be glad to go visit him. Well, walked in, it's what we call a shotgun house, where you walk in the front door, you see right straight on back out through the back door, and the rooms are off to the side. And here's this Rotarian whose name is Paul, in an iron lung. And he had been in this iron lung all of his life. And we talked a while about Rotary and stuff, and I said, is there anything I can do for you that Rotary can do to help you? And he said, well, I wish that Rotary had been around working on polio back when I got polio. He said, but you see this collar around my neck? And he pointed to the collar because his head was out. And he said, this collar leaks, I die. He said, because I can't get replacement collars. He said, you hear that pump there? I said, yes, sir. He said, well, if that pump goes down, I die because I can't get spare parts. And it reminded me of a man in Jackson, Tennessee, where we had a lady that had lived in a iron lung. She died. She died because of a loss of power. The generator didn't get started soon enough. So I called Glenn Vanderford and he said, I said, you still got that parts for that generator? You got those parts for that pump, that iron lung? He said, yes. Those parts are now in Dallas, Texas. Paul is a Rotarian. He's a major donor and he is a lawyer. And he works by putting a ruler in his mouth. On one end is a stylus, the other end's a pen. He does this to sign things. I can't do it, but some people could twist a cherry stem, and I can't do that either. So, yeah, you go, Sue, you can do that. So you can imagine trying to do that with a ruler. But here's the dedication of this individual and the dedication of Rotary and how Rotary does connect the world with when you do things like this and you work together. So great stories out there right now with people working hard. Great stories out there that are still raising money. We've got to go after this unallocated DDF. We've made a commitment to the children of the world that we were going to eradicate polio. We still have that commitment. And whether the bump on the road is SARS, or whether the bump in the road is forest fires, whether the bump in the road is Ebola, or whether it's COVID-19, we got to keep our eye on the target, keep moving forward. Bill Gates made a quote, and I'd like to read it to you, that one time says, fighting a disease is like fighting fire. It's not enough to put out most of it, you have to get it all. Rotary's generous pledge to the global polio eradication issue will help us continue to extinguish this terrible disease for good. I think that's a very applicable way to say, we've got a job, we committed to it. Yes, there's been things that gets in there and we're in uncharted waters, but we got to finish the job. So thank you for letting me talk for a few minutes, and I'll be happy to open it up and talk about anything anybody wants to talk about.
John, thank you so much. Your wisdom and your guidance and the way that you speak from your heart really comes through when you deliver any kind of message. And I know it's part of what inspired the all-star team back in 16-17. So at this time, I'll open the floor to see if anybody has any questions that maybe John could address for you.
If I can't, my vice president can.
If you want to ask a question, you can do one of two ways. If you unmute yourself, we will recognize you in order, so that if a bunch of people do it, we get this in an orderly fashion. Or you can type your question in the chat window. I know John is keeping an eye on that as well. So we'll start with our District Governor, John Chambers, who has something he'd like to chime in on.
Well, I appreciate, and I think everybody is working as a team, and I think that's the important part. And I appreciate, John, you being on this morning, because that helps all of us throughout. I know in our district, we've got people doing a lot of things with food for people in schools, nursing homes, so forth, and getting those baskets of food and even sandwiches to them, because I know clubs are working on that throughout. And I think that's one thing that's important, is to take care of, I'll call those people who are in need and are constantly in need. And I think we need to focus a little bit on that too. That's it, Paul. Bruce.
Thanks so much, John. Jennifer, are you there? You want to say a quick hello to everybody?
Hi, Sue. Thanks.
Hey, Nick.
Good morning, Jen and Nick.
Hey, Nick, Jennifer.
Nice to be here with all of you. And like Jeffrey, we're just here to observe and to be part of it, to get a fix to start the day and to support John and hear what he had to say. I guess just a couple of comments. I think that one of the things that in very short order, we have become very good at Zoom meetings. Anyone who has participated in a Zoom meeting more than 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, knows that nobody knew how to mute themselves. Dogs were barking, trucks were going by, and now we all get on. We all know exactly what to do, and these meetings.
Speak for yourself.
But they're running really well, and it's just such a great opportunity for us to be in shared experience at a time when we want to be able to help our communities as much as we can, but it's really tough because we're all isolated. So I love what Sam, one of the Rotarians early on, said about calling different elderly people and catching up with different people. That's the kind of stuff that we can do from from our own home. I do want to just build very quickly on something John said, and that is that the legacy of our polio infrastructure is something that we need to talk with our fellow members about. And it is such a point of pride that, we are truly making a difference with COVID-19 right now with our polio health infrastructure. And those frontline workers are helping to shut coronavirus down. And that is something that, governments are recognizing. And I know that right now I'm working with our Canadian government on a very large request to help us fund the gap that we have to eradicate polio, which is $3.27 billion, of which we've raised $2.6 billion. And the response that we're getting is that they appreciate right now that this needs to remain a priority, even in the midst of COVID-19, because of the role that our healthcare infrastructure is playing. So that is a point of pride that I think we should share with our fellow members and make sure that they understand that what we are doing with our number one priority is truly life-saving on so many levels. And I'm going to just take the opportunity to ask a personal question of John. John, how are you guys getting by, and what's been your favorite thing to eat in quarantine?
The least favorite thing is my cookie. But no, we're getting by fine. Judy had that accident and fell, and she broke her wrist, cracked 3 ribs, has a C1 and a T4 crack in her spine. So she's got a arm cast, a neck brace, and a back brace. So neck collar and back brace. So, but we're getting along fine. And I hate to say this, I do get out there every once in a while. I don't go to any public meetings anymore. We found out that we can have hospital. We had to get a piece of legislation passed in our state legislature so the hospital can have meetings via electronic means. We have to make them available within 2 days after we have it, so we have to tape them. But everything's fine. Right now it's about 80-something degrees. It's gonna be 80-something degrees today outside. So I'll try to go out and get a little sunshine and sit outside. It's too cold to get in the pool, but I could sit around somewhere. But I think all of us are becoming accustomed to doing what we need to do. I still like fried chicken. It's still pretty good stuff. So little fried chicken and mashed potatoes don't do anybody harm.
Biscuits and gravy? Biscuits and gravy good too? Or
I cut out biscuits and gravy.
good
When I had my hernia operation, I lost about 15 pounds, and so I'm now down about 20 pounds. So I guess the other 5 is what I do to my cookie. So.
Well, good for you. So John, we do have a few questions that have come in on the chat. Number 1 says, what's the status of the new oral polio vaccine?
The NOPV2 is in testing right now. It has been speeded up, and hopefully that's going to be out sometime this fall. So hopefully that is going to help us along on the wild when we're getting these vaccine-derived cases. So, and that's being, by the way, that's being funded through the Bill Gates is not part of his normal commitment to the polio GPEI campaign. So he's still matching us 2 to 1. We did sign a new 3-year agreement with him for that 2 to 1. So if we commit up to $50 million, that he gives us $100. So, and we made it the first year, so we're working on the second year.
Obviously keeping very busy with it. Greg Warner wants to go back to what you talked about with the problem of the districts hoarding DDF. Maybe hoarding is too strong a word, but maybe it's not. What will it take, Greg wants to know, to get those DDF funds from districts that aren't using them to districts that are using theirs?
It takes the simple thing of the district governor, the district governor-elect, and the district Rotary Foundation chair to sign a form. And they can transfer that money or spend that DDF money. They can allocate DDF. And, you know, our goal is to get 20% of the district's DDF of the current year. To get the past year, it still takes the same 3 people in order to do it. In a lot of districts, you have conflicts between the district Rotary Foundation chair and the district governor or district governor-elect. The district Rotary Foundation chair sometimes feels that's their money. Well, it's not their money. It was Rotarians' money that they gave to do projects with. So it takes education, it takes pressure, and I want to use the word pressure, for Rotarians to say, we made a commitment. We did not make a commitment for this money to sit in a bank. I'm getting a list of all of the districts that have $100,000 or more of unallocated DDF, and we're going to start putting pressure. I don't know how, you know, what are they going to do, fire me? So we're going to send some letters out to say, hey, we're in economic conditions now that we've never been in before. Get rid of that money. Because if you go back, and if your district had $300,000 worth of unallocated DDF, and the district governor's there saying, we need you to contribute to the annual programs fund, you're going to say, well, spend the other money I gave you before. So we just got to get a communication with the district governor-elect to do that. We're also going to be asking the current district governor nominees to go ahead and fill out their forms for the next year, so when they come to Orlando at the International Assembly, that we can try to get them to go ahead and commit their money in advance.
Thanks, John. You know, it's interesting. I'm thinking through this whole COVID-19 thing. People are frantic because there is no vaccine yet. So inadvertently, this may make our job with polio, which everybody, you know, especially in developed nations for years and years, polio has been eradicated in their minds. This kind of unfortunately becomes great public relations for the polio eradication campaign to see, here's what happens when people are not vaccinated, and here's how the world can end up becoming just upside down in a matter of months. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Well, you know, we've said for years, Bruce, that polio is just a plane ride away. And, you know, we saw that when it came back to the measles over in California. I mean, look what happens right now that with this COVID-19. I mean, you sneeze and next person's got it already. And look how fast some of these people are dying from this. So it can happen with polio just as easy. It can happen with polio because they're both transmitted via humans.
Our district Rotary Foundation chair, committee chair, Rick Karen, asked a question: is it possible for the foundation to put a limit on either the total amount a district can hold in DDF? For example, any funds over the total DDF of the past 3 years is returned to the foundation. Have the trustees discussed that? Is it permissible, or could you rewrite the rules, essentially, is what Rick's asking?
Well, that is being discussed amongst some of us. Louise GI tried that several years ago. Said if they didn't spend their DDF within 3 years, it was going to be transferred. And there was such an uproar among the Rotarians that it never was implemented. So it never was done. You know, it is district money. It is money that is supposed to be spent by those districts. We've got to get the districts on board and the leadership. And I think it would almost take not only would it take a vote of the trustees, perhaps even maybe by the board, but I'm not so sure it wouldn't be a COL action to make that happen. I haven't done that much research on it, but I do know that there's several of us talking about that it is just not reasonable with all the needs and with all the grants that we cannot fill, because we got about a $38 million limit on global grants. And if you don't, there's a lot more needs out there than that. And I'm not sure what all the needs are going to be after this COVID-19 is over with as to what's going to happen there. So there's plenty of ways we could use that those funds. It's just getting the districts to turn loose on them.
Thanks so much, John. Let me just see if there's any other questions.
Nope. There's Jana has one. Is there a way for Rotary to convey the hotspots of the critical needs to all Rotarians in a way to influence us to come together to help resolve those needs? Because our strength as Rotarians is in coming together. How do we use technology, because that's about the only tool we have right now, to convey those hotspots of the critical needs to Rotarians, and what can they do about it in your estimation?
You know, Bruce, I think while a lot of us have learned to use, as was Jennifer said, Zoom and other means of communication, we're learning to have finance meetings via Zoom. So we are getting more into the technological age and using the modern technology we have. But there's still an awful lot of our 1.2 million Rotarians that are not using this technology. So we still have to depend on the Rotarian magazine. We have to depend on the governor's newsletters and things like that. The directors are putting out newsletters. We've got to depend on that type of communication in order to do it. And a lot of your district newsletters right now are via Facebook or via email and other things. So I know David Alexander and the whole communication team is working hard on trying to keep things. And, you know, one thing that happened, as you know, Mark had to make that very, very difficult decision to cancel the international convention in Honolulu. That went out, and it didn't take any time for that to spread around. And we have not heard anybody saying, well, I didn't know the convention had been canceled. So it can be done. It's just a matter of how we get it out there. We're starting to do more videos that are going to be released soon. We've already got some that we're having to change, but they're going to be released. Trying to get that to all the club we're now starting to communicate with all the club presidents directly.
Hey, Sue, can I jump in on that?
So that's starting improving. We've been doing it for years, but it's improving now. So I think that's the way we're going to have to do it.
Hey, Sue and John, can I jump in on that?
Sure.
Well, you sure can, sir.
So Thursday night, we had the first ever Zoom call of all 44 governors in zones 28 and 32 and all district governors elect. So my successor, Valerie, and I met with all of them via Zoom. We're going to meet with them every other week now. We're going to start bringing coordinators into the meetings. But the goal of that is to drive connectivity down into the clubs. Valerie and I can't get down into clubs, but the governors can. And so we have an agenda now. Every other week, we're going to stay connected so that we can drive this connectivity down into clubs. Mark Maloney and I did, and Brittany Arthur, did a session the other day. Every day is Groundhog Day to me. I have to look at my phone to figure out what day it is. But the other day we did one, we had 450 people on a Zoom call around the world. And we're going to continue with that. So I'm just going to suggest to you that we now have a Google Docs document where all of the governors and governors-elect can share best practices, fundraising, service projects, questions, opportunities. And I know that zones 33 and 34 are doing something similar. My colleague on the board, David Stovall. So we're all doing our best. And I'm telling you, it is spreading like wildfire. Jennifer had asked me how many of these calls I've done, and I do 2 to 3 or 4 a day of these calls. The connectivity is spreading like wildfire. And I think it's the silver lining. when we get past all of this, it's not going to go away. It's
That's
a
right.
new way for us to communicate. And so it's the silver lining in this that has allowed us to accelerate our use of technology. Thanks for letting me.
You're absolutely right. It is getting down to the grassroots that's important.
Thanks so much to both of you. Jennifer, did you have something you'd like to say?
I just wanted to build upon the question that Jana asked about having a place to, see what the critical needs are and to monitor things, a location for us to be able to look at for best practices. Jeffrey just built upon part of that. One of the things that I wanted to share too is that, as John announced, the executive committee of the trustees, our economic engine, the foundation, transferred that $1 million from the World Fund into the disaster fund. Well, we're meeting as a board next Thursday, and one of the things that we'll be evaluating at that point is the activity that we're seeing in terms of uptake on what people are doing and how they want to access these grants. And that will inform us whether or not we need to transfer additional funds. And so as we're trying to figure out what to do, it's a great opportunity for district leadership to be working with, polling and finding out what the community need is and filing for one of these disaster grants, because that will help to inform us in 1 week's time whether or not we need to increase that. Obviously, we'll be monitoring it closely, but that's one thing in the short term. So I think as those grants are being filed, it's going to help us figure out what next steps to take.
Yeah, Jennifer, let me respond to that a little bit also. I think that Ross brought it up a few minutes ago when they needed some respirators. They raised the money, and it was quicker for them to take their cash to work out to get these respirators into Jamaica easier. I think we got to find a way to speed up our approval process too. So I think that's something we've got to work on. The grants are up to $25,000, one per district, but we've got to turn those things around immediately. We don't need to be sitting there and holding them and see how many more grants are going to come in. I think we're going to have to learn how to turn those grants and get that money out there quickly if we're going to have any effect on this COVID.
Rachel, I think you had a question.
I do. My name's Rachel Kozlowski. I'm the president of the Belleville Club in District 6400. My question is, earlier this year, my club applied for a grant and got it, and the money was given to Haiti Outreach Missions. They have not been able to go to Haiti due to the COVID and also due to civil unrest in the area. And I don't know, we've never ran across this before, that we haven't been able to complete a grant within the allotted time. We're going to be requesting an extension. I'm not sure how all that works. And other clubs in the area may be having this situation as well. So could somebody please tell me how this would work?
Have you sent in a letter yet? Have you sent in a request for an extension in time?
Not just yet. Russ actually has written me and said what's going on with all of this. So I've responded to him, but I don't think he's had any chance to respond back to me.
Just go ahead and write a letter and put your grant number in there and the reasons that, the civil unrest, the COVID-19 and so forth, and put all those things in there and say, you're prepared to begin work again as soon as you can travel and things. And I think you'll get it approved.
All right, thank you.
Rick, did you want to, Rick is our District Rotary Foundation Committee Chair. Rick, did you want to add something to that?
Yes, Rachel, thanks for the question. This has been on my mind for the last couple of weeks, looking for answers, and Russ and I talked on the phone last night about it as well. We are gathering information about where people are on the district community grants from the district block grant to come up with a scheme where we can defer projects, pay out projects immediately, and still be able to move forward with our district grant for next year. So we're working on it, and we hope to have something soon. And that was the reason for the information request, so we can see where we are, what our financial exposure would be by just paying out and moving forward. So thank you for the question.
Sure.
Thanks, Rachel. Appreciate that. John, another question that we've had from Floyd: as critical as times are for the health of many, of concern also must be the foundation investments. And Floyd remembers back in 2008, the World Fund had limitations. Most probably the same will occur, do you think, and perhaps even be more critical? How are the foundation trustees, first of all, discussing finances, or are they just trying to deal with the crisis right now and get to the finances later?
No, we are discussing on a regular basis the finances, and obviously the investment committee is meeting via video, or used to be GoToMeeting, but we found out that Zoom is much more effective than GoToMeeting is. But yes, we have a meeting on next Tuesday as far as RITRF finance committees are concerned. Fortunately, this market is very fluid. And I say fortunately because one day you're down to 3,000, or 1 week we were down about 3,000 points, and now we're up about 2,000. So we hadn't gained it all back, but it's been a great year as far as investments is concerned. So our investments are doing well right now. And we're not all into equities. We got a diverse portfolio, and so that's helping us too.
Great, thank you. We're running out of time for our allotted hour that we have, but I don't want to cut off discussion because I think it's a really healthy discussion if anybody has one. We've also had a number of questions once our portion with past President John is complete here on Zoom, some logistical questions about Zoom and how it works, and Sue is going to respond to some of those, and I may chime in on a few different things. But any last call questions for our past Rotary International President and current trustee, John Germ? And of course, we've got Jennifer on the line, and Jeffrey, and a host of others who can answer questions. If you have any, this would be your opportunity to join us with those questions. We'll give you 15 seconds to chime in. Jeffrey?
Hey, Bruce, can I just let everyone know, I mean, I'm sure that you all know, but maybe your constituents don't, that if you go to Rotary.org, Rotary Global Rewards, you can get a 20% discount on Zoom. And if you go to TechSoup.org, TechSoup.org, nonprofits can get all kinds of discounts on everything from Office 365 to Zoom to other platforms. So there are discounts available for any of you whose clubs aren't on yet or whose districts aren't on yet. 20% discount at Rotary.org, Rotary Global Rewards.
Yeah, I've used it 3 times for buying different Zoom accounts so far. I'm one of Zoom's best customers, even though they haven't responded to my tech support question yet. James has a question from his iPad. James?
Hi, I just wanted to make a comment that everybody should try to donate blood.
Okay, there you go. If you can,
there are shortages, so
if you
for
can,
sure.
please do that. So I just wanted to, as far as the Zoom stuff goes, in our district, we're handling it in a couple of different ways. So we have set up on our Facebook page and our website an area for cancellations and changes that people are having in events. Obviously, meetings aren't happening right now, but events also have been moved around or postponed or canceled. We also have a list of Rotary heroes, people that are doing things in our communities, even though we're not meeting. And then we have communicated with club presidents and offered to them, the district picked up 2 different subscriptions to Zoom so we could handle the demand that we had. So people email me with the date and time that they want to have a Zoom meeting, and then we schedule it for them, and then we send them back the links and information that they need to distribute to their members. The thing I now have edited with that is I'm also asking people if they want that meeting to be private or public. If it's a meeting that they'll open to others, then I list that also on our website and Facebook page so that people can connect like we are today to give them an opportunity for Rotary Fellowship. There are some clubs who are just using the Zoom just for club business and club board meetings, and really having visitors is not as critical to them, and probably not as appropriate either. So that's kind of how we're handling it. But we also gave the information, and I can share that on the Facebook page that we have for the Passport Club. There's a great download that you can do that gives you the best practices and lessons and how to set up a Zoom meeting, how to set up a Zoom account, and also the link to Zoom. There are some Zoom services that are free. but it limits how many people can participate. So if you're only going to have like a board meeting or something, it's easy, use the free
And it
one.
limits the amount of minutes. Up
Yeah,
to 40 minutes.
it also gives you only 40 minutes. And if you go past the 40 minutes, it really does a countdown and then you get cut off. So there are different reasons to do a paid one, but they're paid, some of their pro paid accounts are really quite inexpensive. So it's really a great way to connect.
Right now, until they get through this and realize they could have made a lot more money, it's $14.99 a month. And with that discount Jeffrey mentioned, it's only $11.99 a month. So it's very, very affordable for any club or district to offer. We actually did 2 district accounts, and we bumped up one of them, which is this one, to a maximum of 500 participants. Just for this meeting alone, we topped out at, I think, about 110, because normally the limit's 100. So, you know, these are phenomenal ways to meet. But I would caution that I've heard this anecdotally over the past week or so, that some of our more seasoned members who feel like they're technologically challenged, you may have to work through them over the phone. It's so simple. I mean, it's so easy to do it once they do it, but they get scared by it, and they get, you know, they're just put off by, you know, any kind of move to technology. But once they're on, they almost unilaterally say, wow, this was so simple. I can't believe how easy this was. So I would urge you to work with those members in your clubs and your districts to make them feel more at home with it. People are posting some great comments in the chat window that I would ask you to read as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Sue to thank our special guest this morning.
Well, John, we definitely can't thank you enough for being here this morning. I wish Judy's homecoming goes smoothly, and that she will continue to recover well at home, because I know
you can eat better again.
Yeah.
No, she can't cook.
So fried chicken lives on.
She can give you directions, though.
You don't realize how much you use your left hand when you're right-handed until you don't have it to use. So thank y'all for letting me be with you today. And anytime I can help in any way, just don't hesitate to call me. Well, or email me or text me, or I can do a lot. As this one Rotary actor said one time, somebody said something about how old I was when I got to be president of Rotary. This Rotary actor sitting back and said, well, at least he's on Facebook. So.
And now he's also on Zoom. Could I also, at this time, please, I'd like to ask Deb High, my all-star classmate sister, to lead us all in the 4-way test.
I'd be honored. Please join me in the 4-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First, is it the truth?
It's the truth.
Second, is it
fair to all concerned?
Third, will it build goodwill and better friendship? Fourth,
will it be beneficial to all concerned?
And here in Rotary District 5930, we like to add number 5. Is it fun?
There you go.
Is it fun?
So Bruce and I, if you are Facebook friends with us, we are having a world's largest cocktail party today at 5 o'clock. You're all welcome to join us. Continue to have fun, continue to connect, and thanks so much for being here today and joining us for this wonderful meeting.
Once again, I would direct you to our Facebook page. District 6400 Passport Club is how you find that Facebook group. And then you can go to our website, 6400passport.org. We'll put that world's largest, greatest virtual cocktail party link up on there as well. Have a great week, everybody.
And we'll have a recording of this meeting on that page as well.
Yes, we will post the recording of this link. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.